Welcome to Live Now. Our top story this morning, we begin this hour with the rapidly escalating bushfire emergency unfolding across New South Wales and Victoria. Right now, more than 4,000 people are trapped on Mallacoota Beach in Victoria's East Gippsland region. 4 people are unaccounted for in Victoria's fire zone. Firefighters from both states are mourning the loss of New South Wales RFS volunteer Samuel McPaul, who died when a horrific fire tornado flipped his truck on its roof near the border. The Victorian Premier has contacted the Prime Minister to request support from the Australian Defence Force. 16 emergency warning fires are burning in both states. Authorities have confirmed property losses in both states as well. We have our reporters standing by in the key locations. First, though, let's go to Andrea Crothers in East Gippsland, where an unfolding bushfire emergency has forced 4,000 people in Mallacoota to evacuate to the waterfront. Andrea, is the area still under direct threat?
It absolutely is, Annalise, and it's truly apocalyptic scenes we're seeing there. Have a look at some of these photos and vision that is emerging from that area. The sky is absolutely red. The fury of the Wingan River blaze simply bearing down on Mallacoota. Witnesses on the ground say a number of houses have been lost. The town's bowling club gone as well, as has the golf club. Now, fire authorities have been doing all they can to protect this area, but we do know 4,000 people are huddled on the wharf. Many people have also gone onto boats, doing all they can to stay as far away from that fire as they can. Take a listen to some of this on the ground.
Mallacoota. Because now the fire front's come through. Everyone's safe and sound. Got the girls and the dogs up the front. Got supplies, but get into the water. It's chaos. I've never seen anything like it.
Mallacoota is currently under attack at the moment. There's a number of houses we believe is lost in and around that community. We've got 3 strike teams sitting in with the community, literally standing side by side with our community at the beachfront, as they'll protect the 2 townships, up to 2 streets in that. But reports, I've spoken to the crews on the ground probably half an hour ago, it is pitch black. It is quite scary in that community. The community are right now under threat, but they will be. We will hold our line, and they will be saved and protected.
So frightening scenes there. Dozens of homes believed to be lost across the state, as well as 4 people unaccounted for. Annalise.
Trudy McIntosh is at the Snowy Mountains Highway. Trudy, also confirmation there from that press conference that 3 people in New South Wales are unaccounted for.
Absolutely right, Annalise. It was really shocking news at the end there that 3 people remain unaccounted for. They haven't confirmed if they're feared missing. Police have not been able to get into this area at the moment. 2 of them in the town of Cobargo, which is just north of Bega. There had been reports that there was significant fire damage in that town overnight after these 5 emergency warnings continue to burn in place. There was also another person feared accounting for in the hills just to the west of places like Bateman's Bay. Another emergency warning and fire has been burning for a blaze out of there. But there's just been so many holidaymakers caught up and residents caught up in this fire on the south coast, from Nowra, as the Commissioner says, all the way down the south to the Victorian border. These fires have been impacting so many places. The Pacific Highway, which is the main arterial road up and down the coast, has been cut off in many different areas. I'll take you through some of these emergency warnings. The Currawin fire in the Shoal Haven, that area now, they've been told in the areas south of Nowra and to the west of the Princess Highway that it is currently too late to leave, that people need to be seeking shelter as the fire approaches there. Further south, the Clyde Mountain Fire, that's been what has been cutting off the Kings Highway, one of the main arterial routes from Canberra to Bateman's Bay. If you're in the area of Araluen or Reedsdale and you plan to leave and are not prepared, you need to leave west via Majors Creek towards Braidwood. Further south again, the Clyde Mountain Fire there. If you're north of the Maruya River and it's been told they're too late to leave and seek shelter, many people, there's around tens of thousands of people in the town of Bateman's Bay at this time of year. Many of those have been impacted by the fires. Places like Browlee told it's now too safe to leave there. Further south, the town of Cobargo, as I said, that has been severely impacted. Other places like Bermagui, many people fleeing there in the hope that they are able to seek shelter as these fires continue to burn. You heard the Commissioner talk about the change of weather. They are concerned about this southerly change sweeping from Victoria up along the New South Wales coast and how that will impact upon these fires. We certainly have in the last half an hour here seen a change in the wind conditions. We're no longer having the smoke come over from these fires. It is now heading towards the north. In terms of people trying to leave the south coast, Annalise, they've been told in many places these roads cut off, as you can see behind me. This is the Snowy Mountains Highway that heads down towards Bega. It's currently not accessible due to a fire there and the concern that these burning trees could fall onto the road. So for many people, it's a very difficult journey trying to get back from the coast, but for many others, it's a difficult place on the south coast as they seek shelter, Annalise.
Trudy, thank you. We'll check in with you again soon. Let's go back now to Victoria. The Victorian State Control Centre is where we find Patrick Murrell. Pat, we heard this morning 4 people unaccounted for in Victoria at the moment, and the Premier is requesting military support.
That's right, Annalise. Premier Daniel Andrews has called Prime Minister Scott Morrison earlier this morning requesting that the ADF be deployed to the fires in eastern Gippsland. This wouldn't be in a firefighting capacity. Instead, they'd be helping to evacuate people stranded in towns, get them supplies. There's also some talk of perhaps naval supply ships coming in to supply some of these coastal towns under threat from fire. Mallacoota, for instance, where 4,000 people are stranded on the beach, taking shelter from the flames there, protected by 3 strike teams. Premier is still waiting on confirmation from the Prime Minister as to whether the ADF will be deployed. Here he was just a short time ago.
I had a conversation, text exchange with the Prime Minister this morning, and I'll speak with him after we finish here. We've made some requests to the ADF for their support, both in terms of making damage assessments, but also some of these isolated communities can be accessed by sea. We have a range of plans in place ourselves, but there may be ways in which the ADF can support us, and I can report that from the Prime Minister down, those arrangements are working very well, and we're very confident that everybody's working together in that real sense of shared purpose to make sure that we provide everything that those communities need.
Now, in addition to this, a request has been made to the United States and Canada for 70 international firefighters to be flown to Victoria to help with the eastern Gippsland fires. In addition to that, the Metropolitan Fire Brigade is currently backfilling some of the spots that the CFA volunteers have been filling because they are so fatigued, because they have been fighting fires in Gippsland for well over a month now. The focus today will be on that eastern Gippsland region. Many towns remain completely cut off by fire. There are road closures, towns surrounded by fire, and so they'll look at evacuating people from these towns by helicopter, and they will look at getting food and supplies in. 7 emergency warnings remain in place for the Gippsland region, and 4 people remain unaccounted for while damage assessment teams prepare to have a look and assess what properties have been destroyed. We don't know how many or exactly where, but we do know that the damage has been significant.
So with the highway being cut, you would imagine we've got a number of communities that are actually isolated. And again, this was a scenario that we forecast a number of days ago. So our focus today is very much about how we can get in, how we can support those impacted communities. So we are moving some extra helicopters down into the Bairnsdale area so we can actually look at transporting people in and out of some of those communities.
There's also an emergency warning in place for Corryong, which is just east of Albury-Wodonga. A fire there crossed the New South Wales border late last night, and the flames are heading towards the town of Corryong. Firefighters there are fortified with residents to fight those flames off as the wind does sweep through. A cooler change is expected for Victoria today. That will provide some respite before the state heats up again.
This is going to be a long, hot, dry and dangerous fire season. Fatigue will be an issue, and all of us in that shared responsibility have to play our part to make sure that we keep ourselves safe and that we don't put others in harm's way.
And at least 20 fires, more than 200,000 hectares burned, significant damage and destruction of property and 4 people unaccounted for, and there's more to come.